Hidden Leaf Stadium. The village hidden in the leaves was filled with people from across the hidden villages. Most of them came from the Sand Village, with a few wearing clothes similar to the ones worn by the hidden Sound Ninja. The stadium where the final stage of the Chunin exams was being held was jam-packed. Jonin, Chunin, and citizens waited impatiently for the battles to begin. Atop the Hokage booth, Hiruzen waited for the Kazekage to arrive before beginning. Even though Fu had moved on to the final stage, Shibiki was unable to come cheer her on, as he had important business to attend to. He turned to the sound of Jiraiya, appearing in a flash of speed. His face held a grim expression. The brat was right. I found the real Kazekage's body in the middle of the desert. No sign of his killer. I brought the body back to their village. The elders believe our story about Orochimaru ending his life. Unfortunately, since they have had little power since the Sand siblings' father took office, they are unable to call off the invasion. But, if we can prevent as much death on their side as possible, they are willing to pay compensation for our troubles. They also want to renegotiate our non-aggression pact once this is over. Hopefully to prevent this from happening again. Hiruzen nodded. He also wanted to stop this from ending in bad relations with their fellow village. He stopped his musing as a new presence entered the booth. The Kazekage, along with his two bodyguards, walked towards them. The Hokage could not help but chuckle under his breath. Naruto was correct in assuming Orochimaru had switched places with the Kage. He could sense that snake-like chakra, despite his attempt to hide it. It has been a long time, Lord Kazekage. You as well, Lord Hokage. I hope these genin put on a good show for us. Hiruzen nodded. I've watched these genin in combat before. I can assure you they are all capable of becoming Chunin. Perhaps even more. Orochimaru, underneath the Kazekage's mask, lifted his brow in confusion. He remained silent as the third Hokage stood and began to address the crowd. His chakra-enhanced voice called out, "Welcome all to the third and final stage of the Chunin selection exams." The crowd cheered in applause. I sincerely hope you enjoy these battles that are to take place. Now, let the exams commence. As you all know, my name is Hayate Gecko, the Jonin told the genin in front of him. With me is Genma Shiranui, who will also be acting as proctor for this exam. The rules are simple. The winner will be decided through combat. Use any tools at your disposal, but we do not wish for this to end in death. You will advance if your opponent is defeated, concedes, or if the two of us decide to end the match. Just because you win more battles does not mean you will automatically become a Chunin, but it will increase your chances. Do all of you understand? Hayate asked before letting out another loud cough. The genin nodded. Then the first match will be Shino Aburame versus Fu of the Hidden Waterfall, Genma said as he bit down on his signature senbon. Shino and Fu remained in the arena while the others went to the waiting area. Naruto stood with Hinata and Shikamaru. Tamari stood a few steps behind Gaara, who looked on with a cold expression. Kankuro was with them, despite not moving on to the finals. Sasuke and Neji stood opposite each other, a strange aura surrounding the two of them. Naruto called it an aura that only arrogant geniuses could release amongst themselves. No one paid notice anyway. Shino adjusted his glasses as he stood on his side of the arena. Although he would not admit it, he felt sad that the two of them had been paired with each other. He pushed his warm thoughts aside and prepared to face her with all he had. Fu did the same, as they had no need to exchange words with one another. And begin! Shino, at once, jumped back and started performing hand signs. Fu did the same and performed her own signs. Lightning style, insect stream. A swarm of bugs exited Shino's body and began releasing lightning chakra as they traveled towards Fu. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. A wave of shuriken flew towards Shino. Some were stopped by his insects, creating a lightning shield. Others were dodged by the Aburame. Fu flew towards him with her wings. They began a battle of taijutsu, with Fu having the upper hand due to her wings. She went in for a kick as Shino grabbed her leg, throwing her in the air. She readjusted herself just in time to dodge another insect stream. She flew high up into the air and did another set of signs. Insect style, wave of bees. A horde of bees appeared around her and shot towards Shino. Insect cocoon, Shino said as he was protected by his own insects. As he waited for the bees to disperse, he began to think. She has a good grasp on the insect style, despite only training with them for a few months. Her tailed beast must be helping her control them. The best way to counter her would be my own long-range attacks. I'll have to use more chakra than I would like, but it is for the best. His thoughts were interrupted as he felt something pierce his skin. He looked down to see that some of Fu's bees had managed to get through his cocoon. He began feeling dizzy, making his cocoon fade away. He was able to see Fu in front of him, preparing to land the final blow. As he watched her, he felt something was wrong. He had not seen any bees surrounding her, which was odd because he could still hear them. He placed his hands together in the ram sign. Release, he said as the genjutsu disappeared. He sent out his lightning, disabling the bees, which were the ones to cast the illusion. That would have worked on anyone else, but my sensei is a genjutsu specialist. Fu grinned. In that case, I'll just have to finish this myself, she said as she once again jumped at him. Their taijutsu started with a loud crash as the Jinchuriki's fist created a large hole in the ground. Shino created a hand sign in the shape of a cross. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Many in the crowd gasped as they saw the genin perform the forbidden technique. Shino's father, Shibi, smiled behind his mask. His son did not talk much about his training, but he knew that Shino had been working hard alongside his friends. I wonder where he learned that, Naruto said, a little surprised. I taught him, Hinata answered. It uses more chakra than his bug clones, but they also last longer because his chakra is thicker than average. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. Hinata continued. Aburame need thick chakra so they can control their insect swarms more easily. And, since shadow clones are made of pure chakra, the thicker it is, the more damage it can take. Shikamaru nodded. He did not really care to remember the information, since he barely had enough chakra to perform the basic clone technique. The only reason he passed that part of the academy test was because he was able to use his shadows to force the teacher to give him a passing grade. He could have used his shadows to create a clone, but was too lazy to make one. I'm surprised that girl from Waterfall is holding her own against Shino, he commented between yawns. Well, considering she is you know what, It's not that surprising, Naruto replied. Shikamaru turned to him confused. His mind clicked as he looked at the number 9 on Naruto's back. So, which one is she? Naruto held up the number 7 with his fingers. The Nara nodded. If he remembered correctly, Seven Tails was a rhinoceros beetle, which explained the wings. He continued to watch lazily as Shino and his 3 clones surrounded Fu. Lightning style, thunder cage. Lightning shot from their hands, creating a large dome around Fu. The bees that still surrounded her dropped to the ground from the electricity created inside the field. Fu could feel the lightning shocking her body. She let out a cry of pain. Shino visibly flinched, but kept the cage up until she fell to her knees. Shino turned to Hayate and Genma, expecting them to call the match. The Jonin turned to each other. They were about to call the match, when a violent wave of chakra erupted from Fu. Shino whipped around to see bubbling orange chakra covering the girl's body. Naruto was stuck between grinning or frowning. He and Fu had decided that they would reveal their Jinchuriki status to the rest of the world during the exams. He was expecting Shino to try and trap her, but was not expecting her to need Chomei's chakra to support her. Unfortunately, Fu was not very durable in terms of taking damage. That thunder cage was quite strong, Hinata said. Naruto nodded. The shinobi in the stands were sweating. Most of them had met this kind of power at one point or another. The civilians were having difficulty breathing due to the pressure created by Fu entering her one-tailed state. The Kazekage chuckled. I wasn't expecting to see the waterfall's Jinchuriki here of all places. Nor was I, Hiruzen said with a small smile. He had gotten the honor of meeting the girl while talking with Naruto a few days back. He knew the two of them had plans to reveal their powers, but was not expecting it to happen so soon. Is this even chakra? Neji asked, his Byakugan active. Sasuke stood beside him. His own Kekkei Genkai opened. Neither of them could comprehend the strength of this power they were witnessing. That orange chakra you see is something that only 9 people in the world can possess, Naruto said with a smirk. That chakra alone, when mastered, would give a Kage a run for their money. And how do you know this, dope? Sasuke asked angrily. His anger rose when he saw the confident smile on the blonde's face. You'll find out later, Uchiha. Just know this. If you ever see that chakra in real battle, no matter how strong you are, consider yourself on death's door. And on top of that, Shikamaru continued sleepily, there are actually 3 people with that power in our midst. He finished, glancing at Naruto and Gaara, who had an irritated expression on his face. Watched his fellow Jinchuriki use the power which he was unable to control. Tamari and Kankuro tensed as they gave nervous glances to their brother and the blonde. Sasuke and Neji also tensed as they glanced at the others, trying to determine who Shikamaru was talking about. Fu swung her arm, sending out a large wave that upon impact destroyed Shino's clones. The real Shino put up his arms to protect himself. He was pushed back from the blast, but remained on his feet. I'm sorry, Shino, Fu said with a faint voice. But, in order to prove my strength, I have to beat you. I understand, Shino replied as he slipped into a fighting stance, one that was unfamiliar to all but his teammates. Lightning crackled around his body. The bugs inside him swarmed out as he prepared to use the lightning fist. They gathered in a swarm a short distance away. They too began charging out from the chakra that they were absorbing from the air around them. Since he had small reserves of chakra, Shino had ordered his insects to gather chakra from the surrounding area in order to refuel him. Once the two had powered up, they dashed towards each other with impressive speed. The two clashed, fist meeting fist, as they fought with all they had. Fu gave a kick, which was blocked and returned with a double punch to the gut. She doubled over, but immediately got up and performed a front flip, placing her behind her opponent. Shino turned, blocked a punch, and shot a bolt of lightning from his hand, grazing Fu's shoulder. She jumped away and pulled out a kunai. Shino watched her wound fade away from the enhanced healing from Chome. He pulled out his own kunai and dashed towards her once again. Their taijutsu was impressive, even by Jonin standards. Shino pressed the attack, swinging viciously at the Jinchuriki. Fu blocked most of his strikes, but a few grazed her skin. She kicked upward, knocking Shino's kunai from his hand. He brought his arm down on her head, but was intercepted by her hand. She threw him into the air, facing after him with her wings. Lightning net. Fu swung her arms, releasing a wave of orange chakra, causing the electricity to fizzle out. She reached out to grab Shino as bugs swarmed beneath his feet. A solid platform of insects formed, and he pushed off, putting himself over Fu. At the apex of his jump, he unleashed a barrage of shuriken. Two managed to make contact with Fu's shoulder and leg. As Shino landed, she pulled the projectiles out of her flesh. You were right, Lord Hokage. These genin are impressive. I only hope that the others are as good as these two, Akaze Kage said with gleeful eyes. Despite hiding his identity, his lip-licking tendencies were starting to show through. Hiruzen was barely able to see Orochimaru's lust or strong vessels. He held back his killing intent. He nodded in agreement as he turned back to the battle. Jiraiya's eyes narrowed slightly, but kept his thoughts to himself. Fatigue was taking its toll on Shino as he blocked and attacked his opponent. His stamina had improved, but not enough to put him on par with Fu's own. Fu was also feeling tired, however, but it was due to her body not being able to withstand the use of Chome's chakra. She was barely able to keep herself from going insane from the potent chakra. Shino did a triple backflip away from Fu, who flew into the air. Shino did a set of hand signs, and the lightning around his body condensed into an orb in front of him. This will be my final technique before I run out of chakra. Lightning style, Thunderbolt Jutsu. I cannot go on any longer, Fu thought. This will have to be my final attack. Fu flew towards the Yamburame with great speed and shouted, Hidden Waterfall Hurricane! The thunderbolt hit Fu midway, but she overwhelmed the jutsu and came down, crashing into Shino, causing a cloud of dust to envelop the arena. Naruto smiled as he watched the dust dissipate. Shino was on the ground, barely conscious. His clothes were torn, and his glasses were cracked. Fu lay a few feet away. She slowly got up, her own clothes covered in dust. She stumbled, but managed to stay upright. And the winner is Fu of the Hidden Waterfall, Genma announced. The crowd erupted in yells of protest. It took no genius to know that they were unhappy that Fu had won. But she did not seem to care as she helped Shino to his feet. She looked up at the crowd and gave them a big smile, making the onslaught increase. The two insect users walked out of the arena and were led by some medic ninja to get looked over. An impressive battle, Chibi whispered to himself, internally proud of his son. Sasuke cursed under his breath as he watched the two exit the arena. His anger was not because he could not copy their moves or speed, though he was still irritated by that. It was instead because of the raw strength they possessed, especially the hidden waterfall girl. He was still unable to understand what that orange chakra was, and Naruto was still unwilling to tell him what it was. Neji had similar thoughts, but kept them hidden by a cold expression. "You better start talking, dope," the Uchiha said through gritted teeth. "Like I said, you'll find out alongside everyone else during our fight, little Uchiha." "Don't you dare insult me, loser," Sasuke growled once again. He was ready to throw a punch, but was stopped when the hand of his sensei grabbed his own. They all turned to see the sensei of the Rookie Nine, consisting of Kurenai, Asuma, Kakashi, as well as Guy. Behind them stood the remaining members of Teams 7, 10, and 9. "How unuseful of you, Sasuke, attacking a comrade before a battle," Lee called out, supporting himself with a crutch. He still felt weak from the chakra procedure Naruto had performed on him. The others held somber expressions on their faces. They knew Sasuke had a temper when it came to people stronger than him, but it was beginning to get old. "Easy now, kid," Kakashi said with a bored tone. "If you knew the full extent of that power, you would either wish you didn't, or become fixated on it, neither of which is healthy." Sasuke pulled his hand away. If looks could kill, everyone there would be dead. Naruto shrugged off the look. He turned to look down at the proctors as they began the next match. "Naruto Uzumaki versus Sasuke Uchiha," Hayate announced. Naruto's face twisted into a sadistic smile. He cocked his head back to look at his opponent. "Let the fun begin, Sasuke." Sasuke smirked as well, although his was more of a scowl. He confidently walked down to the field, his Sharingan already active, relishing the thought of battle. Naruto returned to his passive expression. He created a half ram sign, and a clone appeared beside him. Kakashi smiled underneath his mask, seeing that Naruto had shortened the hand signs of the Shadow Clone Jutsu. "My double here will stay behind to help you guys understand what you see, whilst I play with Sasuke," he said before turning to Hinata. He quickly kissed her cheek before vanishing in a burst of speed, leaving a yellow blur behind. Hinata blushed slightly at the looks she was given by her comrades, primarily from Sakura, Ino, and Tenten, although they were not interested in Naruto. It still annoyed them that the two were in such a happy relationship. They all turned to watch as Sasuke and Naruto appeared in the arena. The Uchiha stuffed his hands into his pockets. He tilted his head slightly, wearing his signature smirk, a smirk that gave off an arrogant aura that annoyed Naruto to no end. Fortunately, he hid his annoyance with a bored look. "Ready to lose, dope?" Sasuke asked, his blood red, two-tomoed Sharingan spinning wildly. Naruto pretended to admire his nails. "I don't know. I would much rather move on and fight a stronger opponent. So if it's all the same to you, I'd much rather you not put up a fight." Sasuke's Sharingan narrowed, his anger welling up inside him. He did not even wait for the proctor to begin the fight before releasing a massive fireball towards the Uzumaki. Naruto rolled his eyes as the fire barreled towards him. He put his hand out in front of him before being engulfed by the roaring flame. Genma turned to Hayate and shrugged his shoulders. Hayate returned the gesture. "Let the match begin, I guess,"